exact conjunctions, it'll show on that mundane list. I'm going to show you this again so that everybody can see. We can look here and see, oh, on the 14th, so it's actually the 14th when it's exact, scratch my August 13th date there, but at 1640 is when that exact Mars in Gemini conjuncts Jupiter in Gemini. So 1640. It was already in there as well. Okay, so we can see here those two together. Go for that exact moment. Now, I really like that Mercury is still actually in Virgo here, because this feels like we're gathering the details, we're getting the information. Maybe there is something that fully comes through, remembering that the tuning into those details, or maybe this is a phone call from a friend, or maybe this is you know, running into someone you haven't seen in a long time, or maybe this is a real deep message from your body, your physical body, your digestion, your whatever, that brings forth this new idea. Okay, Jupiter and Mars in the sign of Gemini is also crazy amounts of ideas. You might be feeling like they're just flooding in and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know how to capture them all. Write them down. Do a voice note. You don't have to do anything with it at this time. Remember, Mercury is retrograde, so it's going to feel really hard in that way. Okay. Tune into and be in the moment as much as you can. Forget your phone this day. Okay. And we see that moon opposite, that full moon tension energy of the ideas and the conversations might be very opposite to our emotional state, might be very opposite, might feel very dual. It's like, I know what I need to do. I have all the information. I have the stuff, but I don't emotionally feel ready. I need to pause this for a second. I can hear yelling upstairs. Thank you for bearing with me. I have a classic example of Mercury retrograde. And so Mercury right now in Virgo, my house of children, I can hear, it sounds like the roof is going to collapse. I can hear giggling and laughing, and I go upstairs and my son has a friend over and they're fighting. They said they were doing ritual, which I was like, this is interesting, very Virgoan. And my son didn't want his friend to be over anymore, but didn't know how to set that boundary. So I had to create that boundary for him. We had a little talk about it afterwards. I get back down here and I literally sat for 10 minutes thinking that I had recorded part of my conversation today incorrectly. And my mind literally couldn't, I was like, what? Why can't I comprehend this? It wasn't wrong. And the confusion that created, though, and my worry that I'm going to have to re-record this, or maybe I don't have to re-record this. And okay, let's all take a moment right now, because we're about to get into what is going to happen between Saturn and Mars and Jupiter. And we want to be really fresh and present for this. So we're going to take a moment. I invite you to close your eyes. Let's take a few deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth, sighing on the exhale. In through your nose, out through the mouth, and tuning into your physical body. Inviting in the elemental guides, fire, earth, air, and water. And tuning into where you are. The location, the land, the house, the who you're with. The secret to living joyfully in every situation is something that is learned. Practice is the hardest part of learning, and training is the essence of transformation. And as we are breathing here together, as we are tuning our conscious awareness to the elements, fire, earth, air, and water that are all around us, but also inside of us, I'd like you to invite your guides, your ancestors, the radiant ones that are helping guide us, who are with us, who are part of this journey. I'd like to read to you a reflection. Maybe second chances are not given to us, but rather something we offer ourselves by using new words and new actions. Each day I show up, not always calm, not always positive, not always the person I want to be. But I remind myself, I am not the person I used to be. You see, there was a time when I wasn't aware I needed improvement. There was a time when I never would have said, I'm sorry, I need to adjust my attitude. There was a time when I beat myself up for past failings and it would spill and contaminate my family's day. Things are different now. I am not the person I used to be. Now I live in today. Each moment is a chance to start over, and I refuse to let past mistakes sabotage the promise of today. Take a moment and consider this. Maybe the words, I'm sorry, can be the start of a freezing dialogue your heart's been yearning to have, a freeing dialogue. Maybe those who have wronged you would be forgiving if you gave them the opportunity. Maybe second chances are not given to you, but rather something you offer yourself by using new words and new actions. Maybe who you are now is more important than who you were then. Whether it's been 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years since you messed up. It's not too late to speak words of remorse. It's not too late to offer forgiveness to those you love or to yourself. It's not too late to be the person you've always wanted to be, because you are who you are now is more important than who you were then. Who you are now is more important than who you were then. Just think of the gift you'll be giving those who are learning how to live by watching you live. Not perfectly, but with small, positive steps and daily doses of grace. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can open your eyes. And that exactly is the Mercury retrograde. Maybe second chances are not given to us, but rather something we offer ourselves by using new words and new actions. And I think that will very much be also that Jupiter Mars. And then the very next day, the cat came back. The very next day on Thursday, the 15th, the moon will move into Capricorn, studious and resilient and hardworking, and Mars in Gemini will square Saturn in Pisces. And this is an aspect that can feel like obstacles, that can feel like arguments, that can bring some tense energy. It might not be a time of like pushing something through, of, think of the energy here with Mercury being retrograde, that we don't have to force anything. Okay. Remain centered, remain calm. Do not, take the bait of the argument. You don't have to. It's a new way of thinking. We can have a new way of thinking. And there is a piece of this that also, Jupiter will square Saturn also. So Mars conjuncts that Jupiter, then Mars will square Saturn, and we don't get that Jupiter square Saturn until the 19th, that Monday during the full moon. The exact isn't until then. So, but that energy is swirling through the world, through us, the whole weekend for sure. So Thursday feels like a day to mark on your calendar. I'm just going to put this forward by a day here. Put on your calendar, think about that Gemini part of your chart that maybe has just had a new idea, just been expanded. And then squaring Saturn, it's like, how do we make it real? We might be looking back on a theme in our lives from December of 2020. Remember, during that time when the whole world was kind of shut down, I mean, at that point, life had somewhat come back to somewhat of a normal